How's it going, assholes? Today I'm going to show you 3 things that are fucking up your RDLs and obviously the solutions on how to fix them. Now, for whatever reason, people seem to get a massive hard on about my RDLs, and whenever I post them on Instagram, it's always one of the most liked and commented, and I am relatively strong at them. Like, all being well, today I will be doing 197.5 kilos for reps, and I know it's become one of these trendy exercises that everybody's been doing over the last few years, but it is an exercise that I see performed incorrectly very often, and also an exercise that a lot of people do try and do but admit they have problems with. And when I'm working with clients, it's probably one of the exercises that does need the most sort of technical refinement. So I'm going to go through my key points so you have them absolutely perfect. But before I do, you do need to make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and like the video. Obviously, if you liked it, you don't have to like it if you didn't like it. But the main thing for today, and this is really important, is that you do need to go and follow my new Instagram page. And long story short, say not the most politically correct things and have purple dildos in your videos and get reported by a few people because you call certain other people out. Your account ends up getting shadow banned. So I've had to make a new account. So please actually genuinely go and follow me on there. And I'm not one to beg for follows or any of that bullshit, but it will actually help me a lot right now. So you can go and follow me on there. And I'm still doing my old page as well. That's still going for the time being, and you can feel free to go and follow the old page too. But going forward, that'll be getting phased out, and the new page is going to be the one and only page for Uncle Tino. And I suppose because I've now got more subscribers on YouTube than I do on my new Instagram page, it's going to be my main Instagram page. I can't really say that YouTube's just my wee side thing and all my main stuff's posted on Instagram, and technically I am actually a YouTuber now. I'm actually just an all-round influencer. But seriously, go and follow me, like all the shit to help the algorithm, and even feel free to share anything that you like to. So with your RDLs, I'm going to break this down into 3 main areas. First of all, it's going to be performing the exercise fundamentally correctly. Then we're going to address getting the full range of motion. Then we're going to go over a few other limiting factors that may be stopping you getting as much weight and doing as many reps as you possibly can. Now, starting off with fundamentally performing the exercise correctly. What I'll often see a lot of people do is taking the bar here and effectively do something like this and turn the RDL into just like a DL, because you're just doing a partial range of motion deadlift here when you're bending and squatting down with your knees. The whole point of us doing an RDL is to exaggerate the hinging part of our deadlift, which is our hips opening and closing like this, and we don't want to be moving up and down through bending our legs, because that's just like a squatting movement. So what I want you to think about when you do your RDLs is your legs having that little bend and going soft at the start, but then after that they're fixed and they don't move anymore. And for you to lower the bar, you're lowering through your hips, moving back like this. You can maybe drop your knees a fraction more to get that final little bit of range at the end, but you can see here, my legs are still relatively straight, and certainly a lot straighter than what I was doing before by bending my knees first. And to ensure that you are moving through your hips rather than your knees, what I want you to think about doing is making sure that your bum is constantly moving backward till you get to the bottom. When I break my knees, my hips start to go back and they don't stop, and then I try and drop forward. My hips are constantly moving back, and you can almost imagine that there's a line that I'm trying to reach, and I can't reach it unless I go all the way back throughout the movement. So your bum should never stop moving back, and that's just what's going to drop you forward. And remember, you don't have to stay poker up right here when we do an RDL like this, because you're going to get in the way of yourself. Let your shoulders come forward, and again, just allow that bum to go back. And you can see here, this position is kind of like a door hinge. Now, once you've got actually doing the exercise properly sussed, the next problem that a lot of people will run into is actually getting a big enough range of motion to make the exercise effective. What I'll often see is people getting down to like here, like just pretty much in line with their knees and coming back up, and that's just not enough range of motion. And they say that they can't get any further past their knees because their hamstrings are too tight, or the bar's pulling them forward too much and they're about to tip over. Now, the solution to this, which I will put a disclaimer in, is that I recently found out that this isn't anatomically correct or optimal. However, it's the method is what's worked for me and the coaching cue that I give to all my clients, and it all works for them. So I'm gonna give it to you guys as well. When you're doing your RDL, think about your weight sitting back into your heels. If your weight's sitting too far onto your toes, the bar's gonna pull you too far forward and all in the wrong position, and it's going to be really difficult for you to move any deeper than past your knees. What I've always found on RDLs is that if you really exaggerate sitting the weight back into your heels, then it allows you to hinge much, much easier. Because naturally, when I shift my weight backwards, the top half of my body comes forwards. So don't be scared to really exaggerate sitting back on your heels. And I don't know if you can see this, but when I'm doing this here, there's like, I can move my toes, like I'm wriggling my toes because there is like no weight on them at all. And all the weight is on the back half of my foot. And you might be thinking, or you might even try this without a weight and be like, oh, I'm not just gonna like fall back. But you've got to remember, when you've got what's hopefully gonna be a relatively heavy weight, that acts as a counterbalance. So if I'm sitting my weight back and the bar's pulling me forward, I will end up a little bit more central just naturally. Just to show you the flip side of this, if you were to have the weight too far on your toes, it would be really hard for you to get further past this without the bar pulling you forward too much. So if you make sure that the weight is moving towards the back of your foot, along with obviously our principle of making sure we're hinging as much as we can and moving our bum back the way all through the lift, your hamstrings won't have too much tension on them and you'll have a much better centre of balance. Now, how deep do you need to go? Well, what I always recommend is that you aim for your mid-chin, and as long as you're in the ballpark of that, maybe going a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, then you're going to be deep enough. But just take it to the point where you don't feel like you can kind of get your hips back any further. You don't need to worry about touching the ground, but as long as you're substantially past your knee line, then you're going to be all good. Now lastly, a few quick little FAQs on what people often tell me they struggle with that stops them adding more weight onto the bar. So first of all, when you do your RDLs, make sure that you're unloading it from a rack. Stunted. Should be starting off with the bar roughly knee height, so you're doing a tiny little partial deadlift, taking a few steps back, and that's you set up and ready to go. You can do a normal deadlift from the ground to get the bar up, but it's going to waste a little bit of energy, so I suggest you just get set up on the outside of a rack. Secondly is grip strength, and people will say that when they get to too heavy a weight, they just physically can't hold on to the bar anymore, and that's why they just can't progress. Now I could obviously tell you just go and put on straps, but there must obviously be a reason in the first place that you're not using straps. So let's try and work this out without having the easy strap solution thrown in. I cannot work this out for the life of me, but for some reason people think that they can do deadlifts with an over-under grip like this to make your grip stronger, but then when it comes to any other variation of deadlifts like an RDL, they need to go double over like this. I don't have a clue why. I don't know if anybody told them or they just surmised it themselves, but as you've seen all through this video, I'm doing an over-under grip like this, and it's not cheating, it's not incorrect, it's literally just making my grip stronger. I don't want my grip strength to be the limiting factor on how much weight I can lift. Now, I am somebody who's got a pretty strong grip from years of judo and grappling and literally never using straps in the gym. However, I can absolutely 100% guarantee you, I would not be doing 197.5 kilos today on my RDLs if I was to go double over grip. This is instantly taking probably about 30% of my strength away just purely by holding the bar. So don't be daft, take an over under grip because it's going to make your life so much easier, and it's not easier as in cheating, it's easier as in efficient and sensible, and just going to allow you to hold the bar easier so you can actually work your glutes and hamstrings and back more. And last, and I'm not sure if this means it's not least or is least because I'm about to go on a rant here, is the modern pish that a lot of people have started when they do their deadlifts and RDLs, that they go here and they go and tuck their chin like this. Now this certainly isn't wrong. You can still do your RDLs like this, but for a lot of people it is going to cost them because through my years of grappling experience, you learn that where your head goes, your body follows. And just to imagine trying to turn your head this way and trying to turn your body that way. Like it just doesn't want to go that way, whereas it turns this way much, much easier. So think about that same principle with your RDLs. When you tuck your chin forward like this, what ends up happening a lot of the time is as you go through the movement, your shoulders end up rounding too early and you end up in this position where it's like struggling to even hold the bar like that. Your shoulders drop too early and it also disconnects like the power line between your shoulders, your back and your glutes and hamstrings. Your upper back ends up taking all the weight that it can't handle without the adequate support from all your other muscles. And you get to this position here and you physically can't budge the bar and you end up failing reps. What I want you to think about doing is keeping your head in a neutral position so that as you lower the bar, your head stays in line with your shoulders here, and I'm not tucking my chin, I'm not even like lifting my head back like this. I'm just keeping it neutral. It doesn't move, I'm just in one nice solid line here. And that way my shoulders aren't like super retracted, but they're just in a solid position in line. and that's going to be so much better to hold your position throughout the whole movement and not flop forward like a floppy fish. Jesus, that was some shift. Well, that's the warm up for my session done anyway, so hopefully you found this video useful and you can take some of these tips forward into your own RDLs. And obviously, if you did find it useful, do make sure that you like the video. And as I said, make sure you follow me on your Instagram. And another reason that it's good to have me on there is because if you are needing help with any of your lifts, like your RDLs, you can just send me a message directly on there and even send me over a video, and I'm happy to have a look at it and help and give you pointers wherever I can. And likewise, if you need a shitload of help or want to make a shitload of progress, my coaching inquiry form is linked down below as well. So make sure that you get on that. It'll take you all of 30 seconds, and then once I've got your details, I'll reach out and then we can have a little discussion about what you want to achieve and how I can help you achieve getting there. I'm having to do a lot of breaks in between takes here because the farts are very strong. And that was from a single scoop of pre-workout today, not a double. Probably a toilet break before I train. Hope you enjoyed the video. Catch up with you soon.